Welcome back, everyone. It's the Aces NFL show, and I'm joined by Aaron Sipos, the king of NFL Down Under, and we are going to break it all down. Sip, welcome back to the pod, King.
Thanks, mate. Another great week.
Well, it was an upsetting week.
Yeah, there was a lot, wasn't there?
The trade was in the red.
Yeah, I definitely found out about it, didn't they? Great for everybody to send the messages through, by the way, with Philly getting done. Really appreciate that.
I would have thought you copped the last drive. That must have hurt.
Copped a little bit, but that's what makes this game beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, there's a minute 30 to go, and Barkley drops a ball to ice the game, and they lose. Like, what a game.
You can take the man out of Giants, but you can't take the Giants out of the man, is what I saw. And honestly, he's been so good. That was I kind of didn't mind it for the game, but what was the? You tell me before we get in. What's the defense doing? They're playing two deep safeties, allow them a couple of, but Kirk just ate up yards. Yeah. Way too quickly, and then mate, they were cooked.
I don't know, and like not only is you giving him the outside as well, like
gave him everything.
Just let him run out of bounds and stop the clock. No timeouts left. Like make him stay in play. Like wind down that clock, put a bit of pressure on him. But yeah,
all we
just
needed was
really
3 yards
easy.
Receiving from Bajan, which I thought they'd get on that drive, and for Philly to hold on.
I know.
And Kirk did it too quickly. In fact, he did it so quickly.
He gave it more time.
Jalen had a chance to
That's
go and
right.
win.
Still gave him 35 seconds with 2 timeouts to go down the other end. So amazing stuff. But that's why the game is the best.
It is.
A minute 30 left on the clock, and you'd see a completely different result. Unbelievable. Hell of a route by Drake London, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Had Slay in trouble.
What's your thoughts on Slay giggling with him after the game, saying, "You cooked me"?
That's just his personality. So, I mean, it is what it is, but
you just cost him the game. It's I don't know. I'm just from
shit, man.
I kind of feel like I would always joke around, but not if I got cooked.
No. Like it's a bit hit and miss. I don't know how to I know that's just his personality, so I can very easily. It's like it is what it is, but shit. Come on, man.
Be hard to watch. Well, it's a big game this week. They've got a tough matchup. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, massive.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about week 3 coming up and give you the preview, but let's just quickly go over last week's best bets. We both went 2 from 3 again, which is pretty good, but I can't believe Chase let me down. I needed 70 yards. He had 35 yards and only 3 targets and 3 catches. He needed 70. I hit the Jets, my boys, and I'll be backing them in again, and Derrick Henry, yards, touchdown. He got it all going late. You tipped the Texans, which was great. Amon-Ra St. Brown for a touchdown let you down, but he had 130 receiving yards and went down at the 1 yard line, I reckon.
Kills me.
And you tipped Brian Robinson over 55 yards rushing. He went for 133 yards. If we reflect over the first 2 weeks, the touchdowns have hurt you, and I got done by the Bengals. And the Bengals are cooking me. In fact, the Bengals are cooking me, and the touchdowns
Let's
are cooking
hope you
you.
haven't done it this week.
We'll have a look, because I might be following up with Jamal. We'll have a look. Week 2 talking points. Let's get straight into them. Injuries are seriously stacking up, mate, and I don't remember a time where we have so many guns.
Here's some big names that we've got for you right now. So Cooper Kupp, Puku, Christian McCaffrey, Pachenko, Deebo Samuel, Kenneth Walker, Keenan Allen, AJ Brown, Njoku, Evan Ingram, Tua, Jordan Love, Raheem Morstead, and Jordan Addison, just to name a few.
And there's probably a few more, but that's just a list that we screenshot yesterday that we found.
Just a few out there right now that are under clouds, and not like little injuries, not like little 1, 2, like IR talk, everything like that. Like there's some significant injuries out there that are really going to be testing some teams out.
Well, talking about teams, Hayden Crozier and Aaron Norton's fantasy team, they had pick 1. They took Christian McCaffrey. They're bleeding. He's on IR. They also took Pacheco with their second round. He's now on IR. And it gets better. They took
got him soon.
They took Hollywood Brown as well, and he's out for the season. So Hayden Crozier and Aaron Norton.
Is he a season gig? Is he a season?
They're really, but they're hitting the waivers hard. They are really cooking on the waivers. We'll get into the talking points.
Tough.
We're going to fly through the talking points like we did last week, but should Tua retire? Quick thoughts?
Oh, I think it's getting to that stage. It's becoming dangerous for him, isn't it now? Like if you saw the vision, like hands and fingers are like just all crinkled up, and it's a scary thing to see. It's the 4th time he's been concussed in 2 years. 3 of them pretty significant. I'd start to wonder if it's maybe time to,
it might be time.
Family and that are like a massive thing and things like that. I just think it might be time, to be honest.
Time to slide backwards as well.
Well, also very, very true, but that doesn't save you completely. Like there still can be some players out there where it hurts you and stuff. And I think I think, I understand all the financial side of things and things like that, but he's still probably going to get well looked after and still going to have half a head at least when he's finished, and it's just becoming a bit dangerous for him now, I think.
I think he should do what Nick Saban said, which was pretty good advice and medical advice. Everyone's talking about he should protect his family and retire. He is an athlete. Yeah. McDaniel's come out and said, I'm not talking about it, which I respect. Yeah. Everyone like us are going to talk about it. But I think medically,
I think
they need to look at his brain, scan his brain, and literally just say, hey, this is the facts. And if it looks all good, well, to be honest, I was thinking, I don't know anything about this stuff, but if his hands and all that go weird because that's just how his body
that's true
reacts,
too.
then, because it looks worse than
no doubt
maybe what you see in a boxing ring or UFC.
Yeah.
But if it's significantly bad, then it's time to wrap it up. So I think they need to get all the scans.
The medical
and that
side
done.
of things, you're absolutely right. It's well said.
Are Miami cooked without him?
Oh, I still think they have enough weapons to be okay. But
that division's tough.
Especially now with the Bills going very well.
Patriots are actually competing.
Yeah, they are.
They're not. They've been in every game.
Yeah. They need to look hard at a quarterback, obviously. There's a couple out there they can still potentially
I want Tannehill to go there.
I do too.
Huntley was
get Tannehill back, and then he's good enough to be able to give it to those weapons out there. He's fine.
A Miami fan before the show, and he wants to see Huntley. He reckons he can actually give them something they haven't had, and he reckons that it might surprise a few people. He's behind Skylar Thompson, and he reckons he would be a bit of a threat with his legs. And
I don't think they want to waste too much time. If Skylar's not getting it done within a 1 or 2 week period, I think they're going to have to look elsewhere for experience.
Should Bryce Young have been benched? Same record as Trevor Lawrence, almost at the same time. I think Trevor had one extra win, but at the exact same time, the pick ones were
a bit rough. I'm going to say, I'm just going to be out there it is what it is. Like, this is what we're here to do. I think it's a bit rough. I don't think it's on him. And Adam Thielen's come out during the week as well and has said, hey, it's not on us. It's on us as a whole offensive group. And there's guys that haven't got going on the offensive side. Adam's one of them. They got Johnson in as to be one of those guys to help out, and he simply hasn't got it done yet. So I don't think it's all on him.
The running backs, I think I saw some tape my mate sent through. It was like a 20-minute breakdown of tape. Essentially, he's lost all his confidence. His footwork's gone. Yeah. And he's holding onto the ball because he's trying to make a play. He's getting smoked, taking some big sacks.
The O-line,
and the blocks from the running back, there's not even...
What's the play calling going on then in that case too? What exactly is going on there for him to not to have that firepower and help him out? So,
Frank Wright just sitting at home with a beer in his hand saying, I told you so, should have taken CJ Stroud.
Probably,
that's the reason he's not there.
Probably a little bit, to be honest. Yeah, it's fair enough.
Do you trust Carr and the Saints just yet? 2-0 and have smoked teams. They played the Panthers and Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys at Cowboys, that's massive.
Are Cowboys as good as we think?
But that's what I was thinking earlier in the year. Again, Cowboys have a good win against the Browns. What do we know about the Browns? Don't know. Then the Cowboys come up against a team that's obviously got their offensive side going and, again, basically shit the bed. So... I don't know about the Cowboys. I'm still not sold on them just yet. If they beat Philadelphia this weekend though, then you probably start to think, hey, maybe they've got a system going that's dangerous. And Kamara, my gosh, when the guy's at his best, he's dangerous. He's as good as there is.
He was unbelievable.
Honestly, he's as good as there is out there. Just get him going, things start to change.
It's amazing what's going on in the league. We've got a hit
again. That's why it's so beautiful. That is why it's the best game in the world.
Someone commented on Spotify last week and said it's not the best game in the world. It's cricket and football. I was like, bullshit. NFL's the best, mate.
Come on.
I'm just going to get up a little graphic here that I sent you earlier. But the most passing yards: Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, Goff, Prescott, Minshew. They're your top 5. Then you got Darnold at 6, Murray 7, Stroud 8, Burrow 9, and Lamar Jackson 10. Who would have thought that Mahomes is not in the top 10 and your number one is Geno Smith? Yeah. That's from last week.
Yeah, obviously. That they're last week's numbers, and Purdy's put 2 weeks in a row. He's put up some serious numbers.
I reckon he
has the weapons.
Have I not told you?
But it might be a bit tough this week now, but yeah.
Debo out, watching the doco on receivers, you bet against them. Yeah. Just remember that note.
The stat has come out. The stat has come out.
What did I say pre-season about?
Brock's 0-3.
What did I say about the Seattle Seahawks pre-season? 2-0, San Fran 1-1, and have lost two of their biggest weapons.
Who have they played, though? Who have the Seahawks played?
We don't waste too much time here. Righto, quick fun facts before we get into it. Here's your fun facts from the first 2 weeks. It's a return to the ground game. Teams are averaging 125 rush yards per game. It's the most through week 2 since 1983, Sip.
Yeah.
We move on to stat number 2, close games. It ties for the second most through week 2 since 1970. So we're getting close games and we're pounding the rock. And the last thing, which is quite ugly, not good for fantasy, not good for your multis if you're taking touchdowns, and that is we got more field goals than offensive touchdowns. We've got 141 field goals versus 129 touchdowns. We don't like that.
No.
And I put it down to preseason changing. Players not playing.
Oh.
All right, boys, you've had your time. You've had your 2 weeks. All right.
Let's
take the
get
popcorn
into
off the
gear.
fingers, get into gear, and start scoring. We're going to take the overs this week, Aces. We're going to take the overs because we need.
Let's get it done.
we
You've had
need
2
more.
weeks to prep now. Now it's time to get your shit together and
Oh
start
my
playing
God.
some football.
What else have we got here? We've got.
Boswell from the Steelers kicker has got more points than the Giants.
It makes me sick.
Honestly.
It makes
Unbelievable.
me sick. And we've got the Steelers
Unbelievable.
offense. Steelers offense have scored 0 points, but their special teams have scored 18, resulting in a couple of wins. Anyway, it's sickening
unbelievable.
behaviour. All right, mate.
stuff.
Let's get into this week. Before we move on, though, the Stewie Jew list.
Oh, yeah.
We got one off.
There's a couple.
We got
but
one off.
yeah,
We only
one
put
off.
2 last week. Marvin Harrison Jr. Jeez,
Yeah.
wasn't he big?
Yeah.
The other guy was Adonai Mitchell. He stays on there with these names, haven't scored a touchdown yet. So we're going to remind you, the Stewie Jew list. Can we hit it? One of them, anyway. Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson,
Your boy.
Bijan Robinson, Amon Ra, and Travis Kelce. All of them haven't scored yet, and they're TD beasts. So just keep an eye on that one.
Couple playing well, but there's a couple that are just struggling in general as well. So they got to get going.
All right, let's get going with this show, and we're going to kick things off with our primetime game Friday. This will be at 10:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time, but it is Thursday Night Football. Patriots at the Jets. You kick it off. You know exactly what I'm thinking with this T-shirt on. You know exactly what's going to happen.
Well, we spoke about it. The Patriots have been competitive, and division games are always different. Always different. The Jets have got going. They did okay. I don't know about Tennessee. I'm not sure. Maybe again, we're not too sure about Tennessee, but they got the job done.
The defense is good, Tennessee. I'm convinced.
Yeah, got some things that they need to get under wraps in there. Does it look like there's a two back option? I don't know. Like with the Jets as well, but they've got some guys that are out there that are just doing their thing right now, and I think they get this done pretty comfortably.
I love the Jets, and I love Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson is the man.
He's prime times. He's got to get it done. The time is now. The time's now.
Did you see what happened last
Well,
week?
last week we obviously,
DK Metcalf torched them.
Yep, and so did
Smith and Najigba.
Smith and Najigba. Like they both had over 100 yards receiving, and Gino, as we spoke about just then, just had his way with them. So I'd like to think Aaron Rodgers is a slightly better quarterback, and I'd like to think that Wilson's right on par with the 2 boys that we just mentioned. So I'd like to think he's probably going for a pretty good evening.
I like it. We'll move on because we both agree the Jets. Patriots have been competitive. Hats off to them. And Hunter Henry, geez, he had a monster week last week with 127 yards or something. Whatever he had, it was big. All right, Giants, let's get to Monday morning games, and they are killing me. 3 a.m., I'm still chasing my sleep because these all-nighters are killing me. Let's get the daylight savings back. The Giants at the Browns. There's not much to talk about here. The Giants are horrific, and the Browns, one thing I'm not happy with at the Browns is obviously Deshaun Watson. He's still ugly to watch. Ford, in fantasy, he started all right week 1. Week 2, I thought, here we go.
Yep.
He get 7 attempts. Your man, Deontay Foreman, is that his name? What's he off the waivers? What's he doing getting gear?
He's getting picked up now all of a sudden.
Goal
15, yeah.
Had a fumble, though. I'm hoping they go,
so
you know what?
Maybe they
But that's
do.
annoying me because we've got Ford and I need him to get going.
You're right. But I think Cleveland pretty easily here, my friend. I think their defense is still reasonably strong.
Yeah. Let's not waste much time here. The only thing that's exciting for Giants fans is you got a great wide receiver. And he's going to get a lot of targets, but he gets a tough defense this week. How much do you reckon the Browns will win by at home here?
I'll be pushing double figures.
Yeah, I like it.
I think a couple of touchdowns
Let's
should be
get to
about
Packers taking on the Titans.
Yeah.
I would imagine that the Titans have to bounce back at home. They've lost 2 games now. They probably should have won week 1. And last week they gave the ball back and the coach gave some of the most honest feedback I've ever seen at a press conference.
Yeah.
People didn't like it. I don't know how I felt about it in a press conference. I felt like it was pretty sharp on and tough on Will Levis, but it was fair. He's turning the ball over at the worst part of the ground, and he's done it 2 weeks in a row. And they probably win that game or maybe go to OT if he doesn't give that ball back because they get a field goal and who knows?
They probably win both. The 2 turnovers that he's had, there's you can argue that they should be 2-0 in all honesty, but
let's talk about Jacobs though.
Yeah.
He's probably, if you had a little wager on most rushing yards at the start of the year, he's someone that we didn't talk about, but he had the highest, he had the biggest contract in the offseason.
Yep.
And he has started on fire. They are just pounding the rock with him and they're just doing what they need to do. They're well coached. LaFleur's a great coach.
They are. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do here. I've got
this is
the
tighter.
Titans are the favourites at $1.67, but
this is tighter.
I am leaning to the Titans just because of the quarterback from the Packers. I don't know if I trust him yet. So I thought last week Richardson, he's a 49% pass completion percentage, or worse than the NFL. Yep. So they didn't play anything last week.
Yeah.
I reckon Levis is better than that.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Okay, we'll move on. There's nothing really to talk about there in fantasy. This one's a big game. The Bears at the Colts.
Yep.
The Colts haven't won a game.
They haven't won a game playing at home. They just lost Forrest. They're really strong defensive tackle. We've been put on IR, so that really hurts their D-line. Their offense hasn't got going. We just spoke about it with Richardson, obviously struggling, going at 49%. Just a little bit too erratic, and that's what the training camp noise was all about, was whether or not he's going to be able to throw the ball on a consistent basis. We know how strong he is, how powerful he is, how he can run the ball, but it was what he was going to be able to do with his passing side of things, and he hasn't quite got going yet. So something needs to turn around for him, but they've still got some firepower. I think it's going to be close. I'm just going to go with the Colts just because it's at home. I think they should be able to get it done, but that should be a very close game.
Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, I mean,
was strong last week.
He's had
arrested him last week.
He's had 2 good weeks. He's had 2 good weeks, and
but they didn't put him on the field at the end, and they were like, "Why didn't you play him?" And they're like, "Oh, well, third down back and all that." So I reckon they might be ready to let him rip this week.
I'm hoping that they do because he is explosive.
I tell you what, Caleb Williams has been huge.
Yeah, he was better. He was better last week in the first half. They shut him down pretty easily in the second half. Didn't get going. He's got some work to do. Obviously, there's always going to be this mountain of pressure on the number 1 overall pick, especially when someone it's been spoken about for 2 years now. Basically, that what he was going to be the guy. It'll come for him. But not yet.
Last week, I noticed that Anthony Richardson, the QB of the Colts, he didn't run the ball. He had 37 yards rushing, but he had a massive rush at the end of the game when they needed to get some yards to potentially keep them in it, right? He hardly ran the ball. Week 1, he had 56 rushing yards and a touchdown, but I think this week there'll be a bit more of him moving and a little bit less of him throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And because he was like, what did he have last week? He had 3 interceptions.
Yeah, he did.
34 attempts for 17 completions.
Yeah.
He was exactly like that preseason game. Remember we were talking about how he started the game with a pick 6.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he come back and dominated and slung it. It was a bit of like a Hail Mary every time.
I
reckon they'll go, let's just be conservative and run the ball.
Try and play to his strength maybe just a little bit more, like get back to what he does best, and you can continue
I reckon
to
you can
work
expect
on
him
that
to
side
run the
of
ball a
things.
bit this week.
I would agree with that.
But I just don't know with the Bears. They're just hard to watch. Hopefully Caleb starts getting going and he gets a bit more confidence because he does have a nice arm.
He does.
It's a bit off at the moment, but once he starts hitting a couple, I can see
get
his
him in
confidence.
rhythm and stuff, and you can see it go through the roof.
It's funny we're talking about the Texans playing the Vikings next, but what do you think about CJ Stroud and him having a chat after the game? That's Caleb Williams. I didn't think Caleb Williams took that well, and I didn't like his facial expressions. It was a bit of like, who are you to tell me I'm the number? I don't know. What do you think? It was a bit weird.
I don't know. Maybe not from a second year guy or something.
CJ's a star. Is that what it was?
It probably is. Like CJ's just taken on this role, I reckon, of just being like, I am the next thing in this pro league after Mahomes, maybe, and then he's just taken that all on board. So interesting.
Well, Texans at the Vikings. Far out, Sam Darnold. You have been impressive, and I'm stoked because we want Vikings to have a good quarterback. We want all quarterbacks to take it to the next level. But I reckon the fact he sat behind, Purdy and the San Fran offense, and then comes and plays them at home last week. And you got to remember, Aaron Jones went out late, and so did Justin Jefferson. And he he really stepped up to the plate. That ball he threw to Justin Jefferson early, that was 97
particularly
yards.
against that defense. I still
think the Texans here are great value.
Yeah, I think if the Texans want to establish themselves and like be considered a good team, then these are the games they still need to win. They need to go on the road and get that.
Nico Collins is becoming the number one wide receiver to watch. He is a beast. How strong
their chemistry is very, very impressive.
He's on Johnson last week from the Bears, and he demolished him. Yeah. And I don't think Vikings are going to have an answer for him. He's too powerful.
Yeah. He's got so many weapons. Like he's the deep ball, he's route running.
I'll tell you the player to look out for. I mean, it might be, best bet segment comes at the end, but Tank Dell.
Yeah, he's had
a couple of drops, but I reckon the ball's been out of his vicinity by about a yard, and he's had some big balls dropped.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on him. He's ready to explode. They've got Diggs right near the line of scrimmage. He's kind of like a little slot receiver to get like bailout.
He is.
And then obviously around it, he's been getting touchdowns. But Tank Dell, look out for him for an explosive play in a dome. I'm looking for that. Yeah. Hopefully JJ is fit and available. So it's a watch this space, but I'll be tipping the Texans in this.
I am too.
And Tank Dell, look out. All right, this game's big. You talk, because you need to answer a lot of questions here. The Saints are hosting the Eagles. So this one will be at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. It's Rashid Shaheed and Derek Carr just demolishing secondaries.
They are. Olive is the other one that, obviously is their key guy there, but he hasn't really had to go to him too much. He's just Olive.
Jeez, he was stiff last week. He should have taken a tutty, and I reckon he was this close to getting it over and just missed. And then I think Kamara rushed his fourth one in.
Yep.
Well, so I'll just pepper you. Ready? What Eagles defense, very suspect.
Yeah, I don't know if they're quite there yet.
And against the pass, late.
Yeah, I don't know if they're quite there yet. The runs is a little bit of a concern, I'd say, especially against the guy that's coming up who's dominating the league right now. So
AJ Brown out. That hurts him a lot.
Without a doubt, best player. Without a doubt, he's their best player. So you can't tell me he like double teamed all the time. It's one less person that they have to worry about significantly. And all the pressure then goes on to Smith and their other offensive weapons to kind of get going. And they haven't got Dotson in yet, and so maybe this week they need to find a way to get him in as part of their game plan.
Jalen Hurts, another pick late, game on the line. Yeah. It was a bad pass.
Just needs to make it basic, doesn't he? Just
keep it simple.
All we need is a field goal.
You have said to me he does try to bite off a bit more.
A little bit, yeah, and it has worked in the past, and teams have read that better now. So you just got to obviously take your medicine a little bit, maybe, but I mean, all they needed was a field goal. 34 seconds, a couple of timeouts,
or
just a down. That's right. Yeah, you're right. But I still think it's going to be a great matchup. Obviously, they'll want to try and respond, but this is tight.
You're doing the Michael Hibbard. I'm starting to lean Philly because we're doing a podcast together, but my brain would say go with the Saints
at
here.
Home. That's a tough place to play.
It is, and I think the way they're going,
that's a very tough place to play.
I want Philly to win though because of divisions.
Jalen has got a magnificent record against the Saints though.
Okay, share that with us because this is something that we didn't bring up last week. I kind of alluded to it. Remember I said
his first game that he played ever, he won, and that was the year that the Eagles were really struggling. So they made a change, obviously with Carson Winston, and put Jalen in first game, torn to shreds, and then the year after that, even bigger game, like rushed for 150 yards, like threw the ball everywhere, scored 45 points. Like it was an absolute tear. That the young man did. I remember that because I was coming off 2 hours sleep because my firstborn was born the night before, so that was super exciting.
Were you playing that game?
I played that game.
That's amazing. Did you punt well?
I think I only had to do it 3 times, which is okay because Jalen dominated.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so he does have a good track record against the Saints, and they've always had, I think, a solid defense. But I don't know. There's something different about their offense that just makes this very, very interesting. So I still think the Saints get it done at home.
I think Philly will respond.
Oh, no doubt.
Defensively, like they're going to tighten it a little bit.
They have to. Yeah.
I just don't trust Carr as much as But this year, I can't go against what they're doing, so I'm going to have to go the Saints. Yeah. And the player that I think will score is Olave.
Yeah, you think he's due?
He's on the due list.
He is due.
He's on the Judas. And the other one is Go Dirt. I just thought how he wasn't involved as much as he was.
I'm surprised by that too.
He was starting to get it late, but it was too late.
I'm really surprised.
And Jalen used his legs more than I've seen. He's going to have to do that again.
Yeah.
Him and Saquon are going to have to do something special.
Yeah.
But you know what? This league is so close and it's 50-50. It just would not surprise me.
Mentioned it before,
Right, now let's move to this. This game stinks, but it's tough. Chargers at Steelers. Steelers are the worst team in the world, but the most successful worst team in the world. They are the ugliest team to watch.
I'm telling you, mate.
And
every year, I'm telling you. Their defense is firepower.
I know it
is. They're happy to win 16-14 every single week. They don't care. Okay. And you'll see them have a 10-7 record. I told you. Watch this space.
Oh, okay, I'm going the Chargers because I've had enough of the Steelers' huge offense.
No, I'm on Pittsburgh
at home.
Yep.
I think this could be the lowest scoring. Do you reckon it could be the opposite though? You know, like you think it's going to be low scoring trash, and then all of a sudden it's high scoring.
I don't think so.
Okay, what are you predicting? I don't want to talk about this for any longer.
18-15.
And I'm going to say one thing. I think Herbert is actually going to show them what he's made of. He hasn't had to do anything yet.
No, he hasn't.
But this game's going to require that arm. And I reckon Palmer, he needs to lift.
Yeah, he does.
Quentin Johnson, they reckon
they need to get it on. Yeah, he's been.
Well, they've moved him. They reckon they've moved him a bit into the slot.
Big game.
And stopped him on the deep balls. Yeah. And all of a sudden, he's starting to find a bit of rack. Yeah. They reckon when he catches the ball, he can take on the tacklers.
Evasive skills and things like that to get through. So we'll see. Yeah.
It's amazing what a new coach does.
It is true.
Play to his strengths.
Yeah, and with a couple of bigger guys leaving and stuff gives you the opportunity.
Remind everyone, Sip said he wouldn't make the list. He had 2 touchdowns last week. But I tell you one man that he's all over, and that's Bo Nix. He has been horrific. And he goes up against a Buccaneers secondary that's banged up.
Yep.
And I'm reading a few things about Bo Nix, and this week you might look like a Cortland Sutton game due to the Buccaneers, secondary. Amon-Ra,
I don't see it.
Williams torched them last week.
Yep.
They couldn't score though, but geez, they got a lot of yards.
Yeah, they did.
The Broncos. The Patrick Surtain is going to go to Evans.
Yep.
I hate that matchup if you got Evans in fantasy. So Godwin again becomes your main man. He's chopping up. He's been super.
Here on the D line too, old Tampa Bay, and he's the monster.
You can't move him.
Oh, he's a monster of a man.
This one's at Tampa. Do you think the Broncos can upset them?
No, I don't.
Either do I.
No,
but I think this will be closer than you think.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this can get going with the outs that you mentioned with Patrick Surtain playing on Evans, and if Nix can get the ball deep, they do have a great defense.
That is just the question, isn't it? What can he do as a young man? Hasn't quite got it going yet, maybe, but no, I don't. No, I don't see much.
When the Broncos play, I tend to not really watch too many snaps. I just kind of keep. I mean, red zone's amazing, but they're hardly on television.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Bo Nix.
Deservedly so.
Bo Nix, I'm expecting him to get going a little bit this week, though. Keep an eye on Cortland Sutton.
All right.
He's been getting a lot of targets.
You heard it here first.
Yep.
You heard it here first.
And we'll move on. Panthers at
Talk about
Raiders. Well, let's not move on too quickly because
we can't do that yet.
Because the quarterback has changed, and I think Deontay Johnson finally gets going.
Dalton's in. Andy Dalton is in.
Nut.
Yeah, no, he's back in business.
What do you think? Do you reckon he's going to find out that this is tough, or he might show Bryce Young that you can stand in the pocket for an extra second and make a play?
I don't know. I mean, the O-line is going to be. If it's the same thing, then it's not a Bryce Young issue, is it? That's what it comes down to. So
not a bad game for Maxi Crosby.
Crosby is ready to light up this mob for sure.
He lit up my mob last week.
He could have 5 sacks this week.
Wow.
He could.
That's Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, mate, he's a beast. And they got going last week, the Raiders. It's a massive win against Baltimore that they had last week on the road. And, they should be licking their lips on this one.
Magic, honestly. As a Ravens man, I wanted to throw up. Up 10 we were. Minshew's throwing the ball to be honest, to anyone, but his 2 main men, Brocky Bowers, wasn't he?
Yeah, they got going.
Gronk come out and said he'll have a better career than me, I reckon, and Devontae Adams. And that's the way you should use them. You got 2 weapons, peg the ball to them. And pound the rock when you have to, but and that's a tough defense. The Ravens at Ravens, and they look great. So I'm stoked for the Raiders. I'm really excited to see can the Panthers produce some offense. Because if they do, there's a few issues there for Bryce Young.
Yeah, there is. There's no doubt.
It will go down as the worst. It will go down as the worst trade in history.
If they. if they're obviously more competitive than what they have been the last 2 weeks, then it's obviously a big result for them. But if they can somehow pull this off, then you start to look at that even more, and the noise will become even louder.
It's going to become
Bryce
loud.
and the
One
Panthers.
thing I noticed with Tom Brady, though, and I won't touch on this for too long, but he was saying that quarterbacks these days, they just get thrown to the wolves. You know, there's no apprenticeship program. No. They just come straight in. Yep. There's not much development. It's just like, here's the playbook, pick it up. And I actually don't mind Bryce Young sitting out. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at Baker Mayfield. Look at all these guys. Yeah. They're all starting to get going now.
Well.
Jordan Love. He sat behind, Aaron Rodgers. Yep. Mahomes sat behind Smith. Like, they reckon that these young guys get thrown to the wolves. And I actually don't mind the fact that he's not playing. Yeah. But the fact you got to get benched to be there would hurt our confidence. Yeah. Looking forward to that game, actually, believe it or not. I want to see the Panthers offense move.
Yeah, you want to see something now where when you've made that change, you want to see something hopefully occur, and there's some changes happening.
All right, Dolphins at Seahawks. That was the first of the 6:05 a.m. games, which we love. So if you can keep your eyes open, you're going to get a couple of good games. Dolphins at the Seahawks. Mate, Seattle, they're going well.
They are. No, hey, not knocking them at all. They
should have taken their coach for Coach of the Year, not Salah. Because of the expectations on Salah are high and he's aren't. But anyway, that's another story. Dolphins, I'm really concerned. Anyone that's if you've got a fantasy player that plays for Miami, unless it's A-Chain, unfortunately, it's just not, they're not going to be who I don't know. I just don't think Tyreek Hill can produce those numbers that he was going to with Skylar Thompson.
Tough. It's tough. I don't know he had a tough week even when Tua was in, so I don't know what's going to happen here, but there's alarm bells. There has to be alarm bells, and especially with the team that they've got, they consider themselves genuine Super Bowl contenders. They have for a few years now, and there are some genuine concerns right now going on for the Dolphins. And obviously, what's happened with Tua, which we spoke about. Sometimes it's bigger than the game and things like that. But from a performance point of view and what they want to get done, they just haven't got it going. And let's face it, the game was over last week before what happened. What happened to Tua?
The game was over. It was a reckless slide.
It was 31-10 already. The game was over. They were nowhere near it. Tua is obviously trying to make plays and that, I get that, but they were getting beaten up. And for a Bills team that's completely changed and it seems like they've got a great system going, I don't think many people expected that to happen. Everybody expected, I think, Dolphins to go in and cruise through there, and they got beaten up. So there's a lot more concerns than just their quarterback right now. I think there's a bit going on there that they need to sort out.
Some fun facts that can support A-Chain and the Miami run game. Last week, the Patriots had Gibson run 96 yards off 11 attempts, and Stevenson had 21 attempts for 81 yards and a touchdown. Now, that's a lot of yardage on the ground. A-Chain can catch the ball and run the ball. I think Miami will be a sniff with the run. But if you see what
they will be, and he's dangerous with catching the ball too.
And I think Seattle, without Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, he's there. Can they run the ball? Because we saw what Cooks and the Bills did last week. They really got him on the ground. You think they tighten up a little bit. So I think this will be a fascinating game. But when you're at Seattle and you haven't got a quarterback. Well, you do have a quarterback, but it's Skylar Thompson. I didn't like when he come on the field at the end of the game last week. He didn't show much. I know the game was dead rubber then, but I'm going to go Seahawks. But I'm going to keep my eyes on A-Chain. I reckon he could go off.
Oh, it's happy for my fantasy. We'll take that.
So yeah, exactly right. This is probably the most exciting game for me, and a bit nervous because my boys, the Ravens, are 0-2, and they take on the Cowboys at home, who traditionally don't lose, but they lost last week to the Saints, who could be one of the most exciting teams in the NFL this year. That we always have a surprise packet, and that could be them. But the Cowboys are hosting the Ravens, and believe it or not, the Cowboys are $2 and the Ravens are $1.80. I want you to tell me what you think's going to happen.
Thanks for that. This is arguably probably the matchup of the round. Like this is what they like to call in America America's game of the week. I think.
They do.
This is going to be a cracking game. I think Baltimore, even though they're 0-2, have probably looked better than the Cowboys. Like I know what the Cowboys did in the week one was impressive, but there wasn't too much of their offense that did much of that damage. It was their defense getting in great spots, and their special teams made some massive plays too. And then they just got absolutely torched last week. So I don't know what to expect. You've got a big cheeky smile on your face right now, and I know you want to say something.
No, I don't.
Please share with me.
You know,
you're a Ravens man. I know
Ravens
that.
man. And how about them Cowboys? I'll tell you how about them. Derrick Henry has not been let go yet. Derrick Henry is going to eat. And he's going to send the Cowboys home. I'm telling you. Did you see what Kamara did last week?
He asked me to
I'm waiting for you to say Derrick Henry.
Game, and all you see is big Tommy Chompers over there.
That's right, Derrick Henry. He's going to chomp.
I expect Derrick Henry. I was painting the picture to really just hone in, but Tommy was ready to go, so it's great. No.
Kamara annihilated him.
Henry's had a massive 2 weeks.
It
Well, the Chiefs game was maybe a little bit quieter in the end, but last week he was on.
No, he didn't really get.
He was on.
Yeah, but he got going late, and Lamar. He
that's
didn't let him
fine.
get going at the end. I reckon
That's okay.
if he gets
established the run early against this Cowboy defense, and they're in a bit of trouble.
and Lamar can run the ball. He loves prime time.
They got found out a little bit last week. The Cowboys.
I just
They got
can't
found
wait.
out.
I can't wait to see what Derrick Henry does to the Cowboys.
You are definitely up at 6:25 watching that game. I know you are. That's excellent.
I might not even wake up early.
know.
I might just wake up for that game and put the house on Derrick Henry again. He scored 2 weeks in a row. We might as well keep going. The one that I do like is Lamb. I don't know what it is, but the Ravens get torched by receivers.
Yeah.
Last week.
He's under a little injury cloud.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just monitor that.
Little tweak of the ankle, so we've got to be careful
Tweak
on
of the
that.
ankle.
I know.
Jab it up,
I know,
CD.
yeah.
I reckon CD will have a day.
It's him or nothing.
Well, if he's out, I mean, what's Dak throwing to? He's got no Ferguson.
He's got Cooks, and that's about it.
Yeah. They'll be cooked if it's just him.
That's honest.
Keep an eye on Derrick Henry this week. He is ready to explode. Lamar Jackson loves these big games, so I'm going to go with my boys. They're 0-2, and if they lose this game, well, then you can kiss my divisions goodbye because Steelers are going to be running away with it with his huge offense. Let's move on. 49ers at Inglewood, California, SoFi Stadium.
This would have been exciting, but injuries have just hit everyone.
The Rams are hosting. Actually, hang on. The Rams are hosting 49ers.
Well, they are, but I think
Can I just tell you who's out?
Yeah.
Puka,
Yep.
Nakua,
Yep.
Cooper Kupp,
Yep.
and then you go to San Fran, Christian McCaffrey,
Yep. And Debo.
Debo Samuel.
Yep.
It's even.
Well, I don't know.
It could be even-ish.
Don't know.
think
I'm only
San Fran
saying
got more.
only saying that because who else do they go to now from a Rams point of view?
2-2 Atwell. 2-2
And just
Atwell.
probably
Remember this.
and try and run the ball too. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's probably about it.
Last week, I thought Sam Darnold really passed the ball well against them. He did what he wanted.
I have no doubt, but who does he
Stafford
really
can
throw?
find 2-2.
Well,
DeMarcus Robinson?
but, just not as dangerous.
No.
Clearly,
Yes.
not as dangerous.
Okay, but
We know
Purdy, he looks very average without Debo.
And that's what
Mason,
brings
I
this
would say
back.
Mason.
That's what makes it in this game interesting. 0-3 without Debo. 0-3.
I think about last week.
It's going to be closer than what we think.
Ayuk has to step up this week.
Has to.
And if I think
No
about Marvin
choice.
Harrison Jr., he torched them.
Yeah.
And that's Ayuk.
Yeah.
And Kittle,
He has to.
I got Kittle in fantasy, and he should get
Jennings
get a lot of
might get a
targets.
little taste of it too.
Bit banged up the first week,
Yeah.
and then played all right. But yeah, Jennings is a good player.
Yeah. Jennings is a solid player for him, obviously.
Who scores in this game? Because I truly believe that Ayuk will get one out the back.
Mason scores.
You're going to could be a running back game, Williams and Mason.
I think so. It could be.
This game is a divisional game, and this could be.
Yes.
These are always close.
They're always close.
I reckon San Fran always get their measure as well.
They do.
All right,
They do.
This will be a good game to watch.
San Fran.
I
San Fran for me.
I hope the Rams can get going on offense.
I think
know they had
Purdy
a few
can break
injuries.
the thing without Debo. I think he can still do it.
Jeez, Cardinals smacked the Rams last
Didn't they?
week.
Didn't they?
Righto, let's move on. That is going to be exciting. I think because of the 2 outs, when Debo's out, they look a bit different.
Yep.
I'm interested to see how close that can be. But yeah, San Fran, you'd think, and Brandon Ayuk, come on, big boy.
Let's go.
He just got paid. Let's
I know.
see it. He should be on that touchdown Stewie Jew list,
He actually not even just in general.
Yeah.
Just a big Stewie Jew right now.
Lions at Cardinals. Now this is offense. Last week they failed to score.
Yeah.
The Lions. They got up there that many times and could not score.
Which is surprising with how well they did the year before.
What about, is Dan Campbell the dirtiest punter of all time? He is.
What did he do?
He has got the biggest plums I have ever seen. Dan Campbell called a fake punt on his own 10 in the third
Excellent.
quarter.
And pulled it off. Pulled it off.
He has the biggest plums
Mate,
I've ever seen.
Unreal. And they
Who
still
else
lost.
has big plums like that, you reckon?
I don't think there's anybody else in the league that has big as plums as old.
I'm going to be going for the Lions in this one.
Physically and metaphorically.
I think they can get after the gingerbread man, and I think
Who's the gingerbread man?
Colin Murray. I think they'll be able to demolish him. He ain't going to be doing what he did last week, and and again, Gibbsy is on the Stewie due list. He's due, but Amon Ra got banged up a bit. And I reckon Williams might become the one soon. What's your thoughts on that comment? You got to understand he was earlier picked. It's not like I know Amon Ra's a king,
but geez, I'm not going to make that call yet.
but that's what like a few articles are saying.
St. Brown's number
Keep an eye on my man Jameson.
Yeah, you do love him.
I love the Lions.
Fair enough, though. He's been impressive.
I tell you what, all these games late, they're I can't watch all of them at the same time. I'm going to have to get another TV in my house.
Excellent.
This is exciting. We're going to keep moving. Now, this is the primetime game. This is great, actually, because of what Kirk Cousins did in the last half. And that Achilles is really loosening up. Loosening up
Feeling
like
good
Dan
all of a sudden.
Campbell's plums on the fourth down on the 10-yard line in the third quarter. He is loose. The Chiefs...
You like that?
The Chiefs at the Falcons. This is at the Falcons, and Mahomes is looking amazing. I'd love to see the Chiefs lose, just quietly.
Geez, I'd love that. The Bengals, come on. What do you reckon of that play? What do you reckon of that pass interference?
It was there. It was there, though.
I just wish it wasn't like that.
I know. I think Pat McAfee put up a stat and everyone voted. It was there, but I wish it. I still wouldn't give it a flag.
Man,
it's
30
there.
seconds
You played
to go.
the game. Tell me that's not a flag.
It's there. That's what pisses me off. It's that it's there.
Mate. Okay, well, there's a guy that hasn't touched it. Let's talk about him. He's got he's
had a man.
The biggest name in the world.
The Swift curse might be real.
I just reckon they don't need him at the moment.
Well, it's obviously looking that way, isn't it? They're 2-0 with him having 4 catches and 25 yards in 2 games. No, they get him going.
Pacheco's out, so they're going to need him.
They're going to got to get going.
Yeah. So I think he'll be upgraded this week. I know everyone's saying, keep an eye on Travis Kelce, but you'd think this week he's going to have to be used a little bit more. As will, I think, Pitts, because if you think about Drake London, yes, he had a great week last week. When I say great, he was pretty good, but he had an amazing route late that won him the game. They've got a pretty nice corner. McDuffie.
Yeah, McDuffie's playing some
and
really
if you saw what he did to Jamar Chase last week, it was a complete replacement of Snead, and that's
McDuffie's
why I thought Chase could get off. But it was a bit of a lesson. So Drake London, I'm going to downgrade. Bijan Robinson, I'm going to upgrade, and I'm going to upgrade Pitts this week.
My upgrade probably for that one, probably more Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, he's good, isn't he?
So he lengthens the field a little bit more and makes it a little bit more dangerous. Kurt's still got the deeper ball in him, and I think
he
got going. So I think Mooney can be the one to kind of maybe get going for him. And you saw that late, in the game last week. That found some real good chemistry there. So I think this becomes a little bit closer. Compared to probably what this time last week, to be honest. But you're probably still going to have to go with the Chiefs, aren't you? Because that's just who they are.
You have to.
But that's, Yeah,
you do. But primetime games, I feel like an upset happens every time.
This is made up to be a great game.
Can you believe that Travis Kelce has 39 receiving yards?
It's 39.
Over the first 2 weeks.
Hard to believe.
And no touchdowns.
Hard to believe.
And they're 2-0.
Doesn't matter even if I just think he gets in the end zone this week for sure. He has to. Pacheco being out and that.
There's 2 guys on the Stewie Drew list that we named at the start of the podcast.
Let's hope they're off.
Bijan Robinson and Travis Kelce are on that list. Let's go to Tuesday, primetime game. Let's close it right now. And we are not going to tell you what we're going to do this time from a betting point of view because AJ Brown was a healthy scratch and we lost. So what we'll do is just monitor that. But we'll give our tips away. But 2 games at 9:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is the Jags at the Bills. Can't wait for that. And then you get Washington Commanders at the Bengals at 10:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So we get the double. And it is going to be really good. I think the Bengals have struggled, but they get a game where they're favoured significantly.
They played good last week.
The Bengals are 0-2 though.
They are 0-2 overall.
They lost to the Patriots.
Yeah.
They should have beat the Chiefs.
They should have beaten the Chiefs.
They failed on that last drive, and the way they didn't use my man Jamar Chase is a disgrace.
Yes, they are.
And if Higgins is in rehab, get yourself out of rehab, son, because you're killing my fantasy.
I mean, that's what happens when you don't go to training camp, mate. Like, I don't care how good you are. Your chemistry needs to continue the whole time, and that's what training camp is
last
for.
Week, wasn't he? Well, Joe Burrow was throwing him around like a rag doll saying, pull your head in.
Yeah, well, you've only got yourself to blame a little bit in the end.
I agree.
You know, like get to training, like do your thing.
Put your head down and work harder.
Be a grinder and that. We all know what you've done, mate. Like we all know what you've done. You're a star. You're going to get your money's worth, trust me. But just go to fucking training, do your thing, build your chemistry up, and who knows what happens.
I'll tell you what happens. 150 and 2 touchdowns.
He's the monster that he has been for the last 3 years. That's what happens.
150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yes or no this week?
150 and 2?
He has these games, man, and this has everything about
it. Something needs to happen very, very soon, and it could very much be against this defense, no doubt. Yeah. Just 150 and 2.
I've seen him do it before.
I'm not putting Dan
Campbell's on there. But this is a game, Aces, listen here. This is a game where you need to just, if you're in the green or the red, this is the game you get more or all of it back. Yeah. Jamar Chase is just ready to go, and this is the matchup. I would expect 15 targets if Higgins is not playing. We've skipped a game. Jags at Bills. Like, let's be honest, we're tipping the Bengals.
Yeah, we're tipping the
Commanders
Bengals.
are looking a bit average, but their quarterback looks really good. He's running the ball a lot. There's not much going on there, but Bengals at home, tick. Jaguars at the Bills. The Bills have been so impressive, and I wrote them off earlier in the year, but I still don't think they've played, I
don't know. They played Miami
last week. Miami aren't really going that well. Jags are not going well, and I want Lawrence to win this game because I want Jets to win that division. But the Bills, they've established a run with Cook, and Josh Allen isn't leaning on, he used to throw the ball. How many interceptions would he be having? He's
quite high.
He's just looking, MVP favourite, to be honest.
He started house on fire. Like they've been very impressive. I didn't expect it this early to happen. I mean, played Cardinals at home. You were down 17, got yourself going, and then they were very, very impressive against the Dolphins last week. Like, yep, okay, they haven't been going great, but just then you always look at the firepower, how fast they are and everything like that, and you were able to nullify that very, very well. And I just probably didn't expect that, particularly from the defense and the amount of guys that they lost. But they found something, and they've got a good system going on right now, and I expect that to continue.
Trevor wasn't okay, he was bad, but he wasn't too bad. He didn't throw a pick, but he didn't throw a TD. He's had a slow start. Like we said, I feel like the first 2 weeks, preseason, it's preseason vibes.
Their offense has definitely started slow in general, though, hasn't it?
Well, I thought when Ingram was a healthy scratch before the game with a tight hamstring, that really hurt them. They only lost to the Browns by 5. They were in the game. ETN got a touchdown. He had 13 rushing attempts, so he's still the one. Yeah. But Brian Thomas is their young, emerging rookie wide receiver who's become a bit of their man. Kirk hasn't done anything. No. -1 yard last week.
And they got Gabe Davis as well as a little bit of a top up as well. Obviously, he had his numbers were low last year, but you still would have thought maybe with a bit of extra pair that they had that he might be all right. But he's they just haven't got going yet.
Kirk's had 4 targets and 3 targets. He's had 30 yards in week 1 and -1 in week 2. Throw him the ball.
Yeah. Give him a chance. Who knows? I don't know what's happening. I must admit, I haven't watched a lot of the Jaguars, I must admit, at the moment. But you've got to find a way to get it to your weapons. And Kirk is a weapon. Like, you've got to find a way to be able to get it to him and just make defenses a little more accountable. That's all I can say.
Really well said, mate. Really well said. The one thing that I'll say that was positive from the Jags last week, and that was against the run. I didn't think they let Cleveland get going. As I said, Ford 64 yards and Foreman 42 yards. Cleveland were up all day. They stopped the run a little bit. So if they can stop Cook and force Allen to throw, Shakir and Kincaid will come in. I think Kincaid's ready to go. He just hasn't been required yet. Shakir's a bit of a security blanket. Coleman is probably the guy they've drafted early. I'm just looking forward to seeing these guys get a bit more a bit more targets because they haven't had to throw it.
No, they haven't.
But I still think Jags are sneaky. I think they're sneaky in this one.
So?
There's something about this one being a bit more meaningful. And if I go back to the start of the year, I didn't have high hopes for the Bills, but geez, they've impressed me. So I'm hoping there's an upset there. I'll tip the Bills, but I might actually tip the Jags, actually. I'm going to tip the Jags.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they can just fire up for a game and do everything. I mean, how many upsets were there last week?
There were a few last week.
So this might be one of those games.
You think there might be one?
I think they're ready to go.
Yeah, Bills look good.
They do look good. All right. I wouldn't be putting my house on that. The Bills will probably win. But that's a great breakdown of the week, guys. There's plenty there. Look at the weather. I think the weather looks pretty good right now, and I'm going through it right here. Let's get straight into our best bets next. Thank you to everyone that is, subscribing to this podcast, tuning into all of our podcasts, and sending in some messages. We love it. It's a huge year of NFL. Obviously, we have our AFL and NRL finals right now, but the NFL has just begun, and me and Sip are just warming up. The best bets have been very strong the last 2 weeks. We've been 2 from 3 each. We're trying to go 6 from 6 this week. We're going to hit it. And I think you might even get $41. You'll have to find out how it equals 41 on the next Best Bets segment, week 3. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.